Good morning, Quasar Markets Alive. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day and everything is going fantastic. There it goes. My screen was acting a little weird there, so needed to see what was going on. Why does it not seem? Okay. Sorry, just wanted to make sure it was transmitting here because I'm not getting my live thing that I normally get. So looks like everything is working well here. So we'll keep an eye. Let me just do one thing here so I can see what's going on. I do apologize. There we go. Okay, I can see what's going on now. Let me make sure I shut that off. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Well, it is gotten cold here. If you guys saw me yesterday, I was in a short sleeve shirt. Today, back in a sweatshirt here. It has gotten cold in Ohio, and it has gotten cold across the markets, giving back most of what we saw yesterday in the way of gains. Starting off with QQQ here, we see getting ready to open, or so far ready to open, down about 1.65% after seeing a gain of 1.3% yesterday. Same thing on the SPY. Yesterday, we were up 1.07%, actually even finished up above the level. I was looking here to say that we maybe could have a little bit of a bullish bias, but we've dropped well back below that here. It looks like we're headed back towards lows and gave back all of those gains. Now we're only, we lost 1.23% after gaining 107. Similar, Bitcoin's pretty much in a very similar, well, I guess I should start off with, let's go. Jobless claims came in at $221,000, $221,000 people here. So we saw for the week ending March 1st, initial unemployment claims fell by 21,000 to 221,000. We did see a little bit of a rise in the federal unemployment filings. They increased to 1,634 from 614. So a little bit, but not really a big move there. I know I was listening to CNBC and they were talking about Steve Leisman there, wanted to take a look and see what was going on in Maryland, D.C., Virginia, as those numbers, not only will you get the federal numbers, but more importantly, or just as important, we should say, is to keep an eye on the private sector, what we call the Beltway bandits, so to speak, the folks that do a lot of business with the federal government. Are they laying off also? What's going on there? We did see two major announcements in the last couple of days. The IRS plans to cut up to 45,000 positions from its 90,000 person workforce through layoffs, attrition, and buyouts. So about half of those positions. And then we also have seen that the Department of Veteran Affairs intends to eliminate over 80,000 jobs to reduce bureaucracy. I will mention that more than that amount was actually added over the last 4 years. So it sort of brings us back to the level we were at previous to that. And again, markets are not taking well to it overall. Overseas, let's start sort of there. Euro has surged to a 4-month high here, DXY. So we talk about money moves first. DXY here, which is the dollar, now below 104. And you can see just this, if Trump likes a strong dollar, it is definitely not going that way. We're seeing a weaker dollar, 103.9. The next level of support we sort of have here is that this 103.40 area. We'll see if we fall all the way down to that, but it's been a pretty rapid decline here. And as you can see here on the shorter term chart in the bottom right, it took a pretty big nosedive on the economic data today and sort of moving to the downside still from then. Does look like it's trying to do a little bit of a triple bottom here. So we'll see if this 103.9 area can hold up. Like I said, euro had climbed tremendously. And again, you can see here over the last 4 days, it's blown through the first level of resistance. We were looking at 105. Steve Flanagan did tell us if it broke that level, look for a move all the way up to this 107.4. And even up to this 109. So that's the next level we're looking at here, 109.4 or so. The level that we sort of started the big decline back in November from election time. So that 109.332 area looks like we want to do it. And it's just all tariff, right? It seems to be the news. The thing that boosted the market throughout most of the day yesterday was, Secretary of Commerce Lutnick announcing that there was some reduction on the tariffs, especially when it was coming to certain cars. There would be exemptions built in. So we'll see what happens there. European stocks have slipped. European bonds have taken off. So we talked about it a little bit yesterday. Germany, let me pull up my data here so I'm not just... Here we go. Germany did announce their big fiscal policy shift yesterday. About 500 billion in euros going to be spent on infrastructure and defense. They're going to increase the percentage that they spend out of their GDP on a regularly yearly basis. And it really has things. It has it's had a big bond sell-off across the globe. And you might say, what exactly does that bond sell-off mean? It means that it's going to be more expensive for people to borrow in general. And where we've really seen that has been in Japan. I'm looking for my data here. I do have it right here. Global bond yields in Japan on the 10-year government bond have reached levels not seen since 2009, indicating a global trend of rising borrowing costs. So even as the ECB has just come out and reduced rates by another 0.25% here, about an hour ago, it isn't doing much to buoy the markets very much here, as we can see. QQQ has rebounded a little bit, but still down 1.5%. And, we're just seeing a global sell-off of bonds definitely hit the market. Other things we like to keep an eye on, of course, gold, pretty stable here, not much of a move. It's been down about 0.5 percentage point, up about 9.2% still year to date. So as the dollar softens, we would expect to see a move into Bitcoin and gold and silver and copper, but we really haven't seen that move yet kick into the market. So something to keep an eye on. Same thing, oil still down pretty low, WTI at 66, Brent crude at 69.4. So still below the levels that we sort of looked at as a good opportunity here, maybe to pick up a quick little scalp to the upside. Treasuries have continued to fall. I do have headlines there. And we have seen the 10-year now react in an upward motion this morning since the economic data came out, but settling in about 4.28%, 30-year at 4.57%. So we are still seeing, rates staying not all the way down at those levels that we were seeing. Again, just a few days ago, the 30 was below 4.45. And the 10-year was, all the way down at 4.123. So we are seeing rates move back up, which is sort of interesting because I did look at FedWatch this morning. And the total amount of move that expected now in 2025 has moved up. It had gone up to about 65 basis points for the year. So they're expecting, investors are expecting about, that would basically be halfway, half the investors are thinking there's going to be a 50 basis point move or reduction in the interest rates. And the other half are thinking a 75% reduction. So that has moved. It was at in the mid 50s. So we're seeing that. Fear and greed factor still remains very low across all of the sort of metrics there that we keep an eye on. Overnight, Nikkei got hit pretty hard here, down about 1.31%. So coming back down towards the lows that we had been seeing there. European stock market, again, a little bit of a move down, about a half a percentage point. It was trading lower before the ECB announcement came out. And that's there again. And again, they did say, I was listening to Lagarde just before I came in. The ECB did say that making monetary policy meaningfully less restrictive was an important thing for them to do. They saw inflation ease to 2.4%, but growth forecast dip amid the trade tensions and defense spike spending hikes. And then talk a little bit about China. We have seen a lot of announcements again in China when it comes to economic stimulus. We take those a little bit more with a grain of salt than we do some of the others there, but I do want to break down the numbers that I was reading here. So they are, again, China has set an economic growth target for approximately 5% for 2025, reflecting a commitment to stabilize and invigorate its economy despite external pressures, such as escalating trade tensions with the U.S. The government plans to raise a fiscal deficit ratio to 4% of GDP, marking an increase from previous years. So they're going to spend more money. They're looking to provide additional fiscal space to support economic activities and public welfare. They're going to issue 1.3 trillion yuan in ultra long-term special treasury bonds, an increase of about 300 billion compared to the previous year. Those funds are earmarked to support various economic initiatives, including infrastructure development and consumption expenditures. They said that they are establishing a national venture capital guidance fund. So again, now following what President Trump has talked about doing here in the U.S., and we see in a lot of other nations, they're designed to mobilize approximately 1 trillion yuan, which is about 138 billion from social capital. The fund will focus on supporting technology startups, particularly like sectors in the semiconductor and renewable energy, to drive innovation and technological self-reliance. And to stimulate domestic consumption, the government plans to issue 300 billion yuan in special national bonds. These funds will facilitate programs aimed at encouraging the replacement of old consumer goods with new ones, therefore boosting consumer spending and supporting industrial upgrades. And then lastly, they have approved a substantial plan to assist local governments in refinancing their debts, aiming at alleviating financial burdens and enabling these governments to continue to invest on the local infrastructure and services. And as a result, we have seen a move up by a lot of the Japanese names this morning, were some of the bigger movers. Baba, now only up about 1.74%, was up much more. You can see this downward trajectory here it's had since about 4 o'clock this morning. It was up as high as 147, 148. Right now trading at 143.44. Also, JD was a big winner too, up about 3.7% here. And again, you can see they were again trading at 47 or so, now down about 45, but was again one of the big movers here. They did have earnings today. They did have an earnings beat with JD. I think I have their news right here. And again, they were up 7% when I did this earlier today. They had better earnings. They said that the U.S. sales were still moving forward in a good way. I had a little bit more info there. I can just pull it right here. But their EPS, they came in at $1 versus an estimate of 84 cents. And their top line revenue was also a 5% beat. They were expected to come in at 45 billion, came in a little over 47. So JD was moving up. It also had PDD, which was up 6% yesterday, up another 2.3% here today. Neo is actually flat now. They were up 3% yesterday, but again, so you're seeing a lot of those names. I didn't see Bidu. There it is. Bidu was up 5.43% yesterday, up another 1.22% here. I would more point those out as I'm more likely to try to play a fade on these. If I see Alibaba come back up towards these all-time highs and see any rejection, you can see I've already got it sort of measured out here. I would be looking to fade that personally, because I don't trust the follow through in a lot of these. Alibaba did have news, though, I will have to point out. Also, I think I have it here. They are going to have their own AI version, so to speak, or AI thing, and they're saying similar to DeepSeek that theirs was a lot less expensive, wasn't using nearly the amount of chips and such, and they were moving up on that news also when it came to Alibaba. So that's where we're at so far. Let's take a look at the pre-market movers. I did break down some things here I had, and you can see some of them are reversing because these first ones were the biggest pre-market movers at the time in the S&P 500. UDR up about 29 basis points now. There wasn't a lot of big movers. Now let's check these pre-market movers since this was done before 8:30, so it kind of moved. So right now we see the biggest movers when it comes to the S&P 500. Not a lot in the green to start off with, and not a lot of runners in the green by any means. Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's good. Hey, Zora. Steven is actually, no, he is on a nice little cruise. So luckily for him, he is taking a well-deserved break. I am here solo. Hey, Ron. Sorry, everybody. For some reason, my computer in front of me is not showing me on my comments. I've got to look here at a separate screen for them. So I do apologize for any delay there on that. Things moving up today so far. Fastenal, FAST up about 1.84%. That's the S&P's largest winner so far. UDR up about 1.17. Food companies we're seeing a little bit of love earlier. Hormel now only up 73 basis points. It was up a little bit more earlier. If we look at the S&P losers, it's mostly the chip factors. Broadcom down about 5.38%. Super Micro down 4.76%. On Semiconductor down 4.71%. Vistra, Arista, Micron, Palantir, Moderna. Some of the things I wanted to point out is, again, I know I sound like a broken record sometimes, but I've been pointing out a little bit about, take profits. Don't, I'm going much more neutral at the end of my days, right, than I used to do. And the reasons is take a look like here. I know it's probably a little, well, that's not too hard to see. Moderna, made the nice move up yesterday. It's given back $2 here in the pre-market on a $33 stock. So, a little bit of a pullback. Same thing, Brown-Forman. We had seen the nice move up yesterday. Now back down almost at the lows of yesterday's trading, down 3.5%. GE Verona was another one that had been up yesterday, down 3.41%. I just pointed it out because even the strongest of companies and the strongest of earnings, it seems to fade off fairly quickly. We talk about playing the market in front of us. Again, I'm not saying don't go long. I'm just saying when you go long and it works out, make sure you're taking those profits, throw in a trailing stop, lock in profits there. It's just very important in the markets like we see now. Some of the other sections losing, I saw Kroger. Now, Kroger, we know, has a few things going on. They had issues with their CEO. They actually had an earnings beat here this morning. EPS, they came in at $1.14. They were estimated to come in at $1.13, so a little bit of a win there. They did have a top-line revenue miss. I haven't seen much more of a breakdown. Let's see here. Seeing from the Wall Street Journal here, shares of Kroger fell. Quarterly sales fell about 7% to $34 billion. Posted a profit of $634 million for the 3 months, but down from $736 million a year ago. So you see year-over-year sales down. company said it expects adjusted earnings between $4.60 to $4.80. Again, a range below what estimates were expecting. We talked about it. The CEO was removed last week after some personal allegations there, defending itself also from a lawsuit from Albertsons. But Kroger getting hit here this morning on that news. If we look at the NASDAQ 100, biggest loser was definitely MongoDB. They did have earnings this morning also. So another earnings that had a beat on both EPS and on top line revenue, but where forward guidance, again, not enough to move the needle. MongoDB down about 20% here. Cloud-based company, in general. Trading at 211 doesn't even show up on the daily unless I do that. Interesting spot here. It's actually dropped a little bit below the lows here. So it's going to open up at the 52-week lows. MongoDB. That's an interesting one. What is their PE ratio? Doesn't list it. That'd be an interesting one to do a little bit more research here on. But big loser anyway, you look at it here in the NASDAQ 100. Marvell down a lot to 18% here. Again, one of my favorite in the chip companies, but dropped all the way down through the zone I was watching at it for. So we'll see here. Now I'm probably targeting something more in this level of the 70 area. And yeah, I got to be honest, Marvell, it fell right through the zone. You can see here, I had been looking and talked about, I wanted to see if it would sweep on, earnings here into this liquidity zone in between, 77 and 84 is what I was looking for on, poor earnings. I thought that would be about the spot where it settles. Now it's come back down here to the spot, and we're trading more in an area where we saw good liquidity trade in, September. Yeah. So now if I pull that sucker out, now I'd be more looking at something in this zone. So that'd be about the area now that I'd be targeting, which is where it's approaching the pre-market. So it could get interesting. So Marvell, another one that I would be interested in here on this pullback, maybe to look to go long on. Broadcom down 5.24. So again, chip sector as a whole getting hit pretty hard. There you do have earnings tomorrow, Broadcom. So that's the reason I might be interested on playing this. Can they change the market with a good earnings report? Although it'd be tough to look at that and say that you think it could happen. We saw NVIDIA, their earnings were good to excellent, and they got drilled. We just saw Marvell with their beat. They got drilled, and now you got AVGO coming up. Do they change the market? I don't know. But again, that's got everything going way to the downside here. QQQ down now at 1.57%. Tick's been pretty negative throughout the day. Hasn't been terrible, but in that negative 200 to negative 300 range is where we've sort of been sticking. VIX is up towards 24 here, so it's stayed in that elevated spot here. It hasn't spiked up to the 30 that we said it could, but it has moved. Did spike yesterday. but didn't break above that 27.64. We said if it gets above that 27.64, look for a move up into the 30s here on the VIX. And volatility still seems to be there. Seeing here, ECB Lagarde, we are moving from restrictive policy to more evolutionary approach. Seeing more from the U.S. January trade. Mexico deficit was $15.469 billion. Wow. Canada minus 11.3. So the trade deficits to our two biggest trade partners there above and below us were not good. Same thing. Trade deficit to China was worse than expected. It looks like trade deficit pretty much to every country was a negative, and I don't know if I spoke to that already. Thought I had a headline on it. I don't think I got a chance to put it up. But again, trade deficit hit the highest ever. So just take that into a couple of seconds to sort of digest that. Ever. Worst trade deficit ever. Tick is down about 200 here. SPY down 1.26%, 583. I'm looking for it to drop all the way down to this 573 level here. That's the first level of support I'm sort of looking at here. It's where we bottomed out yesterday and the day before. So it's sort of the area here I'm looking at again, 573. Can see it was the area that was resistance back here in mid-September again. Seems like September keeps coming up in a few of my conversations so far this morning about things. And then it turned to support here in October, provided support here in January, and then the last 2 days. So we'll keep an eye. Do we see that again today? Can we see that bounce back from that zone here or not? We do know again tomorrow we will have non-farm payrolls coming out. Wait, I think that's what we got today. We got something. Do we have something tomorrow? So I don't want to give you the wrong information here. Let me quickly pull up my sheet. Because this might have been actually what I thought was today is the one. No, jobs report tomorrow. I am right. Okay. I thought we still had it. This is the initial jobless claims today. Tomorrow we get U.S. jobs report, U.S. unemployment rate, U.S. hourly wages year over year. So, and then I will warn, we have a lot of Fed speak tomorrow. Today we do have Christopher Waller, Fed Governor Waller, and Atlanta Fed President Bostic speaking, both of them towards Waller as the markets get ready to close, and then Atlanta Fed President Bostic speaks later tonight. But tomorrow we got Fed Governor Bowman speaking at 10:15, New York Fed President Williams speaking at 10:45, Fed Governor Kugler speaking at 12:20, and then the man himself, the purple tie wearing fool, Jerome Powell, our buddy, at 12:30 tomorrow. And then we also have consumer credit coming out at 3 o'clock towards the end tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on that. Next week, as we start to look ahead, we have CPI on Wednesday that we'll keep an eye on. That will be a big one. PPI on Thursday, and then consumer sentiment on Friday. So again, we go right back into the washing machine, so to speak, next week again. So we are about to open here. Let's get it to our tick, and I like to look at the cues here on the open. I am interested to see what we get here. The start will sort of play our day based upon there. And we are still negative, but it's coming a little closer. I will say advanced decline is negative 2,000 right now, so that could move. I expect it to move closer to negative 3,000 on the open here. We'll see what we get. Seeing what else is coming across the screens. Nothing else really catching my eye so far. And we are open here. Negative 700. So, for, like I said, first moves, advanced decline, negative 38. So, even further to the south. First moves from the Qs to the downside. So, we're at the down. We are at the lows of the morning. Let's see if we can get a bounce here from this 492.66. I will point out Qs are right at that 200-day MA that we talk about a lot. SMA, the simple moving average, it hasn't spent time under there unless you go back to February of last year is where that sort of turned and the market moved to the uptrend. We haven't spent much time. We did spend a quick moment under it in that August run here. So I do think this 200-day MA is an important mark to watch today, that 491 and change area. Did bounce back a little bit here from that lows of 492.48. So a nice little bounce back here. Let's see if we can get it. Tick still negative though. Advanced decline moving closer to a negative 4,000 here as we're watching. Dow opens up down 89 basis points here. You can see the gap to the downside. Did immediately try to fill it, but now drop back down to the lows. We have SPY down 1.28% here. And you can see already one standard deviation to the downside from where the VWAP was at open. So again, negative there when that sort of happens. This has us, at least for those scalpers that are doing the 0DTE stuff here, that's a negative in general there. QQQ now down almost 2 percentage points here. 492.23, tick negative 394. Sort of telling you everything you need to know here. Take a look at the Mag 7. Wow, NVIDIA 113.17. So like we talked about, giving up all the gains we saw yesterday. Does it fall down to those lows of 109.64 that we saw on Tuesday? But so far, starting off low here, this is just a little bit of an irrational sell-off in my personal opinion here. So we hopefully will start to see a little bit of move back into the sanity to the upside here. AVGO now down 7.21%. I'm interested to see here the downside ones. Marvell now almost down 20% here, 72.35. MongoDB down more than 20%. Cores, which is Core Scientific, the Bitcoin mining and data processing company, down 16.31% here this morning. Credo Technology down 11.73%. Couple of the winners from earlier today, I was looking at Allegro Microsystems. They have moved. Allegro is the company that was talking about being bought out by On Semiconductor. So they're still trading pretty well here, holding up 28.44. Nice gap up to a 52-week high here. I'm not sure if that's an all-time high, but if I had to guess, no, it's not. So never mind on that. But nice little move to the upside. We do still see King Cloud here, Kingsoft Cloud Holdings, Chinese cloud company, data processing company. They have earnings. Actually, no, they didn't have earnings, but they have been moving up the last 3 days here nicely, up 3.78% so far. Fastenal is still holding up a little bit here, 1.53 to the upside. Tick still negative 400. QQQ down 1.8%, so bouncing back. The RUT small caps down 1.52. Dow is now down 1.2% also. So like we said, Mag 7, all of them right now are negative. Apple, the least negative of them, only down 50 basis points here. Biggest loser so far, Tesla down 267.74. So it hasn't broken down to that level I was looking at, maybe in the 234 level yet, but I do think any break below 267.50 puts you definitely in a downward trajectory. Continuing there, was seeing here, tried to make a bounce back. Let's look at Tesla a little bit more here. And what we do see is, Monday, it came down to that level we were looking at. It bounced up, and that level goes back all the way here to what was former resistance, again, September, right? We keep talking about September of 24. A lot of things trading back down at those levels, have given up all the gains. You know, we've talked about this with the Qs and some of the others that had given up the gains that we had seen from the election with Tesla. You know, you're looking back at where it was trading in September of last year and a little bit in October. So that's the area I've targeted here. Any kind of break below that, in my opinion, you have downside all the way to 235 to keep an eye on here. 234.50 area, quite frankly. Tesla back, you know, I mean, Netflix, excuse me, tried to get back above 1,000 the other day. It got as high as 995. And you can see two different times here in the last week or so, it got rejected just below that 1,000 area. Now testing the 50-day MA to the downside here. So again, we're still seeing slides across a lot of these. NVIDIA at 112.98 here. Let's see what is moving to the upside, or is anything moving to the upside here. So Allegro Microsystems still the one winning the most, 8.29%. Zscaler having a good day here. ZS up almost 6%. That is, I believe, on their earnings call yesterday. Yep. They've been moving up since their earnings call yesterday. And we'll pull up the news there. They've been maintained and outperformed by Wedbush here. So they've given them a target of 240 raised from 230. Wells Fargo 210. So we're seeing some calls for that today. They are trading currently at 208. So they are in that area of what they just told about. But Zscaler after, and they, again, when their earnings, they had an EPS beat of about 13.5%. And they had a top line revenue beat of about 2.13%. ECB's President Lagarde, tariffs are not good at all and are net negative. She just finished her press conference. She said they can't move on a digital euro until Commission and Parliament complete legislation. So they are, you know, looking at doing their own digital euro. She did say quantitative tightening has been very smooth, doesn't regard quantitative tightening as a primary component of the monetary policy. That's pretty much all the stuff here on Lagarde that I see in the ECB. There you go. Apple going positive here. So now we're seeing the market start to come back a little bit here. Tick is only negative 200. Advanced decline topped out about 4,400. Now back at 41.87. Qs, though, are still down 1.8%, but we're down as low as 491.66. Bounced off the 200-day simple moving average and are moving back to the upside slightly here. VIX 24.22, so continuing to move to the upside here. Did get as high as 24.48 here before pulling back a little bit. Tick is trying to get at least to neutral here. Seeing Morgan Stanley says hedge funds still have big bets on the market, even if they're less bullish. Tick at minus 87, Tick minus 17. So Tick trying to go positive here. Let's see if we can get a little bit of an upward movement here. Tick has gone slightly positive, 38. Advanced decline coming back down towards that 4,000 level. Let's take a look at the sectors here, see what's happening. We still see, as of now, all of the sectors. Oh, there goes XLP. So XLP, which is consumer staples, just moved into the green, up 5 basis points. That's the only one so far. XLV looks like it could be the next one to go. That's healthcare here, only down 34 basis points, but moving towards back up. So let's see if we can get a little bit of positivity moving into the market this morning. Tick did go back negative here. Advanced decline right about that 4,000 level, though. QQQ is where we're seeing a little bit of strength come back into the market. We are challenging VWAP here. So again, those of you that are day traders, we did get our first attempt to break through VWAP here, rejected at that level. Currently, that level is 493.73. So let's see what it does as it approaches this one standard deviation at 492.44 would be what I'd be keeping an eye on here. But so far, first attempt to get above VWAP didn't work. Let's see if it has on the SPY. SPY still trading almost at that full one deviation to the downside there. So again, what I have on my screen here, folks, is what is called volume weighted average price, VWAP, used a lot by day traders and scalpers to gauge the direction of the market. Anything above it considered to be a little bit bullish. And again, very short-term indicator, not a long-term indicator to use here. But as you can see, and then the green line on the top would be one standard deviation to the upside, usually a spot where we see sell-off. And then one standard deviation to the downside is the green line on the bottom where it's playing around now. Tends to be, again, another spot. And you can see how it worked as support over here when we were in the 9 o'clock hour, but not doing it as well here now. So both of them looking a little weak here. QQQ down here, 1.72. So rejected on the first attempt again to get through that VWAP. Let's see if the Dow is challenging it. Dow, I don't know many people that use that as much. VIX 2426. What's going on with Bitcoin here? 89,382. So Bitcoin negative also here. You can see it challenged VWAP here for a little bit earlier this morning, 5 a.m. But since then, it's been fairly negative. So Bitcoin not looking good there against the VWAP. Gold did just break through the VWAP, tested support. So this is what we want to see. What we like to see is you challenge VWAP for a little bit. Buyers start to win the battle against the sellers. We see it move up. Sellers take one more chance to see if they can move the market back down. It gets challenged again, and now we see if we can get a move up all the way to this one deviation. 29.18 would be what I'm looking for if I was scalping the gold futures here personally. I do not do that, but that would be what I would be looking at from a technical analysis side. Tick has gone back, still pretty negative here, so it doesn't look like the momentum kicking in. QQQs, like I said, 1.73 to the downside and unable so far to, it's challenging VWAP, so we like to see that, but it hasn't been able to break through here. This is the one I'm going to keep an eye on for right now. Need a quick little hit of caffeine. Trying to break through, not really. Let's take a look at the pumpers here, see if anything's moving. Kroger now up 5%. So Kroger, since its earnings, it was down. So that's a pumper for sure. Kroger definitely seeing a move up here. And you can see that on the short-term chart. Definitely jumped up from 61, 65 here. So Kroger, we had said they had an earnings beat, and the first move was to the downside off of that, but now moving to the upside here. So Kroger, a nice little move here again. Kroger is KR. So as their earnings report call must be going on, it's moving to it. I will say, though, this is where it starts to get nervous again. We are right at an area of resistance here, which was this 52-week high. I don't know if it's the all-time high. We'll find out here in a second. Does look like all-time high for them. So they are approaching it here. But you can see, I haven't seen much in this market that's been able to get above and hold above these levels, even on these earnings. So again, this would be one I personally would be more looking to fade here now than to move to the upside for a continued swing to the upside. I'd be looking at that 65.86. You know, and again, targeting first target 64.56, second target 63.16 area, but we'll see what happens. That's what unfortunately has been the moves, has been to fade these things off of those jumps up. And you can see when I said it, we were up over 5%, now only up 4.66. Again, we talked about Chinese names doing pretty well here today. PDD, the parent company of Temu, up 3.16%. Bilibili, the autonomous driving company, up 2.96% here, holding up. Fastenal's given back about half of its early morning rise. DR Horton, nice little move up still here today. There has been a lot of, we talked yesterday about the discussion that refinances had moved up as rates have come down. So as rates have continued to fall, especially the 10-year, even though it's moved up a little bit today, it is giving a little bit of breathing room to some of the homemakers. DR Horton one, again, that's seeing a little bit of a continued move up. You can see Pulte Group in here, another one of the companies 3 straight days moving up. So we do know there's an appetite for people to get into new homes. I've pointed out one of the reasons that I think the home builders are a good or a better long-term play on these areas is that what they tend to do is they have their own mortgage wings. Those mortgage wings, because they control them, they'll do buy downs of the rate, because it's really not a buy down that they actually go to a bank and say, hey, I want to buy it down. Here's the money to do it. It's all internal bookkeeping, quite honestly, because then what they do is they sell off those loans in a matter of days after they all close. So it is a little bit of funny arithmetic that works and how that market works. I'm not, mocking it. In fact, I'm saying it's one of the reasons that I do think they win. Lennar, another one, up about 1.64% today. Excuse me. I apologize. A little bit of a cold here kicking in, it seems like. Some of the biggest losers to keep an eye on so far. And I did focus on market caps 2 billion or above. I don't really like to take a look at those small caps. They're too much of a unpredictability. MongoDB still moving to the downside, down 23.5%. Marvell has sort of bottomed out at that 20% level, 72.32 right now. Core Scientific, like I said, Bitcoin mining and data processing company, down 14.75%. One that Steve warned when it was pumping a little bit, AppLovin, he did not like it, down 9.42%. Again, crypto names getting hit here. Riot down 8.22%. And these are ones that were up yesterday, although BitDeer I see down 7.23%. I know they had earnings today. I didn't look at their earnings yet. At least I thought they had earnings today. Come on, TradingView. I do see that BitDeer, their CEO, one of their board of directors has resigned. That wouldn't be a big deal moving it down. I could have sworn that, no, they had earnings the other day. I don't know why I thought I saw that they were up today. Let's see if anything else is moving to the upside here. Man, not really. Dollar General up 1.92% here. So a little bit of a move up here by them. Let's take a look here through the tick. Still negative 110. Advanced decline, sticking in that 4,300 area. QQQ continuing to slide, now 1.9% to the downside, challenging now again. That one standard deviation on the short-term chart to the downside. SPY down 1.54. It is also sitting not even able to break through that one standard deviation. VIX sitting pretty stable at 2440 to get as high as 2450 a little earlier here. Tick trying to get towards positive, but still unable to do it. Bitcoin 89,461. So that has slightly rebounded here in the last few minutes, but not a real big move to the upside. Gold sitting at 49.13. It has been slowly ticking up today. Brent pretty stable. Brent and WTI pretty stable here. Again, if we look at the sectors now, we're all back to all 11 sectors of the S&P in the downside. DXY 103.92, so still unable to break back above 104. Not at the lows of the day, but very close to them. Euro 108.27, so pretty much staying stable there. We'll say take a look through some of my other favorites here. Well, the crypto mostly in the red overall. I do see Chainlink and Ripple are positive. There's a few that are positive. King Cloud again, Kingsoft Cloud again moving to the upside about 6.38%. Fastenal doing pretty well here. Most of the other early morning risers are giving back some of those. Palantir down another 5% here today. So Palantir back down, coming back down towards that support level at 83.62. I had out the other day. NVIDIA still down 2.86% here. So 113.93. It is sort of the highs of the day. I'll point out that, being down 2.81%. So tick might start to go. There it goes. Positive finally, 558. So here you go. After that first 20 minutes of algorithms kicking the crap out of the markets, maybe we get a little bit of buying here. I can't argue with this. Peter Schiff, who I do not normally agree with, says so far in 2025, S&P 500 is down 2.25%. QQQ is down 3.5%, and the RUT is down 7.4%. But stocks are up 9.2% in the UK, 14.3% in Switzerland, 15% in France, 16.4% in China, 18.3% in Spain, 21.3% in Germany, 21.4% in Hong Kong. The Trump trade is sell U.S. and buy foreign stocks. Can't really argue with that right now, can you? That seems to be the way. I don't think it's what he wants by any means, but they are definitely, it is the result he's getting. You are stuck. NVIDIA starting to run here. So 114, NVIDIA, the first one to move. So we should watch the QQQ now here. Maybe for a move through VWAP. There it goes. First move through VWAP here is QQQ. So let's see if we can get a continued run. We've got some trying to break that downward trend that we've been in all day. Tick is still slightly positive. Not able. I'm not trusting it yet here. I got to see it test again. I want to see it test that VWAP and stay on the upside. See if we can get a move like that, like we saw out of gold. But Q is trying to move here. Just trying to make a move to the upside here. Tick is still slightly positive at 46, so we are seeing it say slightly positive here. Oh, I do want to point out something on Bitcoin this morning. I saw a bunch of tweets out earlier this morning. And a couple of things to keep in mind on. There was a big movement in or from Mt. Gox's wallet. Again, Mt. Gox was the big hack that goes back now 10 years ago. But there is a release coming today, so a little bit of pressure there. I did see another tweet that I responded to on X talking about the fact that or the tweet said Trump has bought $10 million in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Oh, and there goes QQQ to the downside. Man, we just can't hold on to the momentum yet. Dropped right through VWAP without really pausing. So for me, not very positive here unless we can get a quick bounce back up. Keep in mind, Trump did not buy Bitcoin or Ethereum. World Liberty Financial, his family's crypto project, did buy Ethereum and WBTC, which is a wrapped version of Bitcoin that is done as an ERC20 token, so it can be used in DeFi on the Ethereum blockchain. And what I pointed out is that they have already had a policy and had been staking a large amount of Ethereum or lending it out on the Aave, AAVE blockchain. And that's why you see Aave is up today, actually, on that news. is one of the few I saw that was up, I thought. Where is it? No, now it's down. But Aave is a lending and borrowing platform where people, you know, lend out their crypto. And I did have, let me pull it up here. There is a pretty easy way to track this. Arkham is is a crypto data company, and they actually track World Liberty Financial's wallets here. And that's why it was easy for me to see. This wasn't a tremendous increase. In fact, you can see yesterday they sold more tokens than they bought in general. They are always buying and selling. But what I looked at here is right here. They have about $5 million that they are lending out on Aave currently. That's what supplied means. They supply it so others can borrow it. They get an interest rate for doing so. And they've got about $5 million of it already done there. The other thing I'll point out is the Bitcoin that they bought, like I said, is WBTC. WBTC is a wrapped Bitcoin. What does that mean? What is wrapped Bitcoin? Wrapped Bitcoin is Bitcoin that is held in escrow by a company, and then they issue a tokenized version of that on Ethereum so that it can be used in DeFi, because Bitcoin is not native to DeFi, can't be used, doesn't allow for it. So this is what it is. I just want to point that out because we do see a lot of false information tweets out there that don't give the full thing. Some of them are a little bit of what I would call clickbait, but this one definitely wasn't accurate. Does that mean that the Trump family is bullish on Bitcoin and Ethereum? Yeah, I think they are. I don't think anybody has any doubt on that. Eric Trump, tries to pump his bags by posting it on a regular basis. So, that isn't anything surprising, but I did want to point it out that they bought it. A lot of people think that that's, the big bullish move, because we know tomorrow they have the Trump crypto summit. So people are saying they're going to come out and just make this huge announcement. I have told you the announcement that I heard is that they'll talk about, again, advancing the conversation around no capital gains tax on crypto. And they'll talk a little bit about the strategic reserve. But again, it will just be sort of rehashed news, in my personal opinion. I hope they come out with some great stuff, but I don't know that they will. I thought it was interesting to see that CZ will be one of the attendees. Someone that under the last administration was thrown in jail for his involvement in Binance. There is no doubt, though, that he is, the biggest whale that there is out there, quite honestly, the richest crypto titan out there. So good to see him there. Michael Saylor will be there. Brian Armstrong will be there. There'll be some people from Protocols. I saw Sergey Neverov from Chainlink will be there. Brad Glaringhouse from XRP will be there. Charles Hawkinson from Cardano will be there. So good list of group of people that will be there. I'll be excited to see what comes out of there, but expect to see a lot of news in the next week on crypto, because following up on that, the 11th, I believe it is, Senator Lummis from, the head of the Senate Banking Digital Asset Committee has her big conference with the Bitcoin policy people in DC on the 11th. And then the week following that, there is another huge one that's being basically put together, I believe, by the Trump family, so to speak. Again, that World Liberty Financial heavily involved in a blockchain policy conference in DC the following week. So we will see it over and over again over the next few weeks. So keep that in mind. Tick has gone still negative here, 300. Advanced decline is back up to almost negative 4,500 here. Q is not at the lows of the day, but still down 1.77, basically about halfway in that midpoint. So far, holding up nicely on that 200-day MA. That's going to be the key area to watch today. that 492 area and that 200-day MA. Can we close above that? If we do, the market to me still remains at least in that somewhat bullish direction. Hopefully it maintains at least the bullish play we've seen with this bottom trend line, right? And also that bottom trend line being the 200-day simple moving average that has held up so well in the past. So that's what we're looking at here. We are still seeing moves to the downside. What we saw yesterday is, the bears sort of hit exhaustion eventually, and the bulls were able to take over for the afternoon. Be nimble here. Be watching these things. Your first indicator, like I said, on a short-term chart, watch VWAP and see what happens there. It gives you a good momentum indicator. My bigger takeaway is what we haven't been able to see for a full day on QQQ. In my opinion, is RSI move really to the upside. We've seen it take quick spikes, but then it quickly moves right back down. So I'd want to see that change before I start to move to the other side. Okay, everybody, that is it for me this morning. We do have Jeremy Vreeland and Matthew Tuttle up with Rebels Podcast, Market Rebels Podcast at 11:30 here. We have a session of Dr. Alan Ellman coming up here before that. We then have Scott Bauer talking about iron condors at 1 o'clock with Prosper Trading Academy. And we then have we then have another version of Dr. Alan Ellman talking a little bit about what he's doing on a wheel trade with IBIT, and followed up after that with a discussion on moving averages and how to trade them with Prosper Trading. So have a great trading day, everybody. Stay calm in these times. The markets might act a little bit irrationally for a bit here, but we always find rationality comes back into play. Keep your money on the sidelines if that's how you're feeling, and don't be afraid. Sometimes no trade is the trade. But good luck to everybody, and we'll see you in the morning.